Hey everybody, this is Jay English. I'm the cross-cultural coach and I'm back with another one of our urban insights. And we have another question in which the person wanted to know, why is it that people of color feel that certain statues need to come down? And I appreciate the question. I appreciate the heart in which that question was being asked. Obviously, over this last year, there's been a lot of things being challenged as far as why is that up? Why is that being taught? Why does this person have a statue? We need to start redoing this. The term cancel culture started coming up. Hey, they're just trying to cancel our history. They're trying to change everything. A lot of polarization on both sides. But I want to help you better understand when we're talking about integration. And that's a word that I use often. That's what people are talking about in today's environment. Hey, we want to integrate. We want to bring cultures together. But when you say integration, that means you also need to deal with the history around the things we're integrating. So there is assimilation, which means, hey, there's already culture. I'm just going to walk in and I'm going to become that. I'm going to acquiesce to that. I'm going to give up of myself so that I can be a part of this. And that's not what we're trying to do anymore. We want to integrate. So let me give you an example of a statue that actually did come down, and I believe with good reason, but you may not understand the history behind it, and this is why you have this tug and pull. So there was a statue in Central Park out in New York, and this statue was of a man that is known in the science world as the father of modern day gynecology. And this gentleman created a surgery called the vesicovaginal fistula surgery that has changed women's lives for, over a century. This man back in the early 1900s mastered this surgery, brought it to the Caucasian spaces where he resided, and as they say, the rest is history. He's taught about it in books. He's taught about in science. He has a statue, obviously, in New York. And for this gentleman to be recognized the way he is amazing until you find out how he mastered these surgeries. This man practiced his surgeries on slaves. So he would get women slaves, and obviously they have no rights. They have no ability to fight back. They can't tell him no. They can't say, I don't want to be a part of this. And he would bring them into his office, into his place, into his, I called it torture chamber, and he would lay them down, have men hold them down while he practiced these surgeries on them over and over and over. There's a young lady by the name of Anarcha, and Anarcha had over 30 surgeries practiced on her. And this man by the name of Marion Sims, who would practice these surgeries and cause such pain because he believed black people didn't feel pain the way white people did. They would pass out from the pain. He would do irreparable harm to them, send them away to heal up a little bit, and then bring them back to do it all over again. Over 30 surgeries for him to get it right. And that was with one young lady, but Anarcha was the one he mastered this surgery on. So the question I have is, if he has a statue, why doesn't she? Why don't I know her name? Why is her name not being taught in the history books? She sacrificed. She went through much more than he did, I guarantee you. But we don't recognize her. We don't remember her. We don't talk about her, the pain that she went through, the things that she endured. But he has a statue. And when we start diving into the history of some of these people and we start finding out some of the reasons why they've become famous, when you start looking at integration, you have to ask the question of, do we really want to celebrate that? So push came to shove in New York, and they actually ended up removing that statue. Because again, if we're talking about integration, we have to deal with the history on both sides. And we have to navigate that tension and decide, is this really something we want to celebrate? Is this really something we want to continue putting a spotlight on? And again, if you're going to put a statue up for him, that's fine, but I want one for her too. And if she doesn't have one, I don't believe he should either. I hope that makes some sense. There's a lot of things like this. There's a lot of history that's been brushed under the rug. There's a lot of things no one talks about and things that we've never been taught. But when you start getting the full picture along with what you've already known, sometimes it makes you look at things a little differently. So I want you to think about that. That's just one example. Marion Sims in the life of Anarcha that you may never have heard of, may never know about, may never see a picture of her, and definitely haven't seen a statue. But that's why there was such a battle, specifically over his. And if you start looking into the history of some of the others, you'll find out some very similar stories. So I hope that helps out some. Feel free to send more questions. Again, my name is Jay English. You can reach me at plainenglishinc.org, or you can send me an email at info@plainenglishinc.org as well. Happy to answer more questions in the future. Take care.